through how to improve your business win rate by 230%. What we're first going to be doing is just going through a small presentation this morning, just to point out some of the areas that we feel that you could improve your business win rate by 230%, and we'll actually finish this off by having a look at EstimatorXpress and turning those points into features within the actual software. It's never been more critical in today's construction industry to be more professional, accurate and fully transparent, especially when tendering for large, profitable jobs. Clients today are demanding more information from you. They are better informed through TV shows, trade events and magazines. They know what to look for and they know what questions to ask. Which magazine surveyed 1,006 of their members in April 2012 and found that just 52% of them trusted builders. They concluded that creating trust is the most important aspect when choosing their builder. Ways in which they said trust was built with the client included having a detailed, understandable quote, having a formal contract in place, and offering a staged payment plan. All of the above our software does actually provide. So number one, invest in a website. In today's industry, Google is certainly the kind of go-to directory. So really, clients need to find you first. Have a really simple website, doesn't have to be too complicated, listing what you actually carry out, images of that work as well, and who you're actually affiliated with, for example, the Federation of Master Builders. Customer testimonials carry a lot of weight. They will say a lot about you and your business, how you've dealt with clients in the past, and really just what they say about you. Contact details with your mobile phone number, landline number, fax number if you use it, and also an email address are pretty key in order to actually get in touch. Number two, always make sure you deal with the inquiry promptly. This may sound like common sense, but sometimes it is often overlooked due to a very busy schedule. Use an answering service as an alternative to deal with your inquiries if you tend to be on site more often. And reply with a really simple pre-drafted email to acknowledge your interest. It also stops any kind of spelling mistakes. You can actually check through it first, and it will also include all your contact details and a signature at the bottom. Also, again, it looks very professional. Take time to get to know your customer. Establishing a relationship with the client is pivotal to any future success. Having regular meetings during the project to discuss what happens next. And it's really to also discuss if there's any kind of hold-ups in any of the build phases that you need to explain, or any other additional costs that may have kind of overrun. You can actually kind of sit down and explain these a little bit more kind of in detail. If you really get to the heart of what they need, want and afford, you're more likely to deliver exactly what they want. Prepare an accurate estimate for your own use. So know what the job is going to cost. You can also then add a sensible profit margin, and certainly don't get priced right. You don't need to be cheap to win the work. A lot of builders I kind of speak to at exhibitions and events tend to kind of over cost the job, just to kind of raise the actual cost of the job itself. Especially if you're actually giving quite a detailed kind of quotation to the client, you can then justify those costs as well. A further benefit is that if your client negotiates on the price, you know how far you can actually negotiate to, but again, still make the job more profitable for yourself. Prepare a detailed and itemized estimate for your customer. So as well as producing one for yourself, certainly prepare one that's quite detailed and also itemized as well. Provide a good level of detail so there is no question on what isn't included within your estimate. You're not going to be caught out halfway through the job when they start discussing bathrooms or kitchens. You can then kind of resort back to the quotation, and this is what we've quoted for you. A one-liner quote is not really enough for your customer in today's market. Your work is a significant investment for the customer. You need to recognize this. Don't email or post the quote. Deliver the estimate personally. Print it out, put it in a personalized folder showing your company logo and contact details, as well as the client's details as well, making sure that your company logo is on there. You can also again provide information on previous work that you've done and also customer testimonials as well. Take time to talk the customer through the estimate in detail as well. Ask them whether you have overlooked or missed anything out, so you can be quite clear up front about what it is that they actually need. Be unique over your competitors. Provide a warranty, for example, such as the Federation of Master Builders. Offer payment schedules, especially if they've got a budget. You can also include a stage payment list for the client to actually pay at certain stages throughout the course of the job, and you can also have discussions at that stage as well. Again, provide a build schedule. You can actually produce a schedule of works to indicate how long certain build phases are going to take to complete, and they can actually have that information, and you can also alter that as well if you get held up on site. Demonstrate clarity and transparency through detailed quotations and reports. You can also provide health and safety policies and contracts to sell your software, especially now the changes to the health and safety CDM regulations 2015 have come in. The client does actually have some responsibility that you can take on. So again, you can provide that information to them so they're quite clear on what the responsibilities are. Possibly offer a design and build service by combining another of our products, which is PlansXpress and EstimatorXpress, which we're actually demonstrating on Thursday as part of the Smart Builders Week. Give the customer time to think. It is a big decision, so you need to be patient. Allow some time for the client to consider all the information, but set a date and time for a follow-up meeting and make sure you don't miss any deadlines with the client. And be prepared to negotiate, but get buy-in before offering any discount. Certainly some of the features and benefits of our EstimatorXpress software. Number one is it's a massive time saving. There's rapid estimating calculators built into the software. Will cost and quantify all your materials, labor and plant to save you hours of time. It's 100% accurate estimates. The software doesn't make mistakes when tired or overworked. It won't forget the calculations. It won't make errors in overlooking VAT, wastage, critical costs or profit. It will even calculate the wear and tear of your shovel. Seriously simple to use. It is really designed for the computer novice. You simply input dimensions and quantities into on-screen drawings, and EstimatorXpress does the hard work for you. Live material price links. You can actually choose to link your estimating software to one of our builder merchant partners, including Screwfix, Electrifix, Plumfix, TradePoint, Travis Perkins, Dewson's Keyline, Builder Warehouse, and also Graham's as well. So let's have a look at the actual software in action. So what we're actually looking at on screen now is the main menu of EstimatorXpress. By moving the mouse, I can actually hover over these action buttons we find on the main menu. The first button is My Estimates. As you can see up here, small description, that will allow you to start estimating a job. The second button down is to download your latest prices. So as mentioned in the presentation, we can link the software to a number of merchants, and by clicking that button, as long as I'm connected to the internet, the prices will be updated and downloaded. Because we do actually link the software to the merchants, we'll also download your merchant discounts as that actually links directly to the merchants we have. My projects, if we've got multiple projects all kind of kicking off at the same time, we can then manage them within the My Project section. And you've also got a button to go into the My Settings of the software. So very important if you're looking to set your profit and inflation. As you can see on the screen, we can change the profit and inflation to 20% as opposed to the 30%, which is the standard. You can also set a small inflation cost against your estimate. So if you want to protect yourself against rising material prices, for example timber, insulation, bricks, blocks, you can just kind of set a small inflation cost. It really kind of protects your kind of top line. Make sure that any kind of the additional costs are coming out your client's pocket rather than coming out your own profit margin. So to start estimating, as I mentioned, we can go into My Estimates. So we can click that button, and this will now take me into all the estimates that we've currently done in the software. They're all listed by name. They're also listed by description. We've also got a cost in here which is excluding any profit at this stage and any VAT. We've got one that's including the profit, when we were last in there, and what the status of the job is as well. To start estimating a new job, we can go to the New Estimate button, and we get a little box appearing. It's actually our little estimate wizard, as you can actually tell there from the description. Now it's telling me we've got 8 steps to kind of go through. So step 1 of 8 is actually giving the job a name. So I'm just going to put my own name in there, Marc Brady. From the drop-down list from the description, we can actually define on what type of job we're actually going to be estimating. So we can go from 3, 4, 5, 6 bedroom houses, small apartments, bungalows, might just be doing a small decoration job, might be doing an extension, all the way down to a renovation refurbishment. I'm going to pick extension at this stage, and also the software is going to designate a job number 31. It's going to be the next one in our list on the left-hand side. We'll press next. Now the software is asking me to pick a price book for the estimate. Now if I drop that list down, I've only got the one price book in there. It's called Master Price Book. Now this is the default Master Price Book within the software. Now you can see from this text here, the price book contains the details of the materials, the labour, the plant, any subcontract prices, and any sundry resources we need to use in the estimate itself. So we'll press next, and now the software is asking for a specification. Because we're doing an extension, I'm going to be picking the extension specification. Really that's doing is specifying the materials we're going to be using on this extension from the price book, and also any labour gangs, any labour costs as well. Now the software is asking me to pick some workbooks to do the estimating on. Now the workbooks, I kind of describe them as the kind of physical aspects of the build. So like the roofs, the doors, the windows, the walls. So to actually pick them out, we can use this little filter button here on the right hand side. If I just drop that filter button, if I want to pick a wall, I can go down to the wall section, and what this is now showing me is all the workbooks that relate to walls. So if I was to pick a brick and block cavity wall, because that's going to be part of our extension, on the right hand side this is telling me exactly what the brick and block cavity wall workbook is going to calculate for. It's going to calculate for the foundations, the underground block work, below DPC brickwork, DPCs, also above ground block work brickwork, brick ties, cavity insulation, plastering skirtings, and also decoration. So that's exactly what that's going to estimate for. So we've picked our wall. Might want to also pick some internal block walls. So we can pick the block wall, and as you can see there, the description changes. So the block wall again is going to estimate this list here: foundations, block work, DPCs, above ground block work, plastering, skirting, decoration, plus all the labour as well. I also want to pick a roof. So from the filter, I'm going to go to the roofing section. And now it's actually showing me the types of roof we've got in there. You'll also notice at the bottom of the list, it's also showing the two walls that we picked as well. Now, I'm going to be doing a lean-to roof. So by picking the lean-to roof here, again, as you can see on the right-hand side, you get this little description, and it tells you exactly what the actual roof is going to estimate for. Timbers, fascias, guttering, tiling, sarking, undercoat and lead work, plastering, internal and external decoration, also the lead work as well, and also your labour. I also want to pick a slab as well. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to the flooring section. So by picking the flooring section, and again, as you can see, if I just scroll down, I can also see these other three workbooks we picked for our extension. Because we're doing an extension, I'm going to be picking the extension slab. So again, we've got a little description on the right-hand side telling me exactly what we've picked. I also want to pick a door. So I'm going to pick a back door, and I'm also going to pick a window. So by going down to the window section, we can go to the window, and we can then pick the relevant window. A softwood bar, dummy sash 900. And again, that will tell you what you're estimating there: frame fixings, plastering, etc. So now I've picked the workbooks I want to use. I can press next. I'll now tell the job when it's going to start. So the client's asked for the job to start in June on the 15th. And I can also pick a chart. Because we're doing a small extension, I'm going to pick the small extension chart. So that will tell me when my build phases are due to start, when they're going to finish, and I can make any changes to that as well. Customer's details for the quotation. So I can put my my details in there. I'll put the business address. That's in Bristol, and I've got a postcode there of BS2 8RH, and I've also got a phone number I can pop in there as well. That's my markup. I can leave it at 30%, or I can make any adjustments at this stage. I'm going to leave it at 30% though, and that's my inflation as well. And I can also delay that inflation cost by a number of weeks before that starts accumulating any additional costs as well. We've got our finish button, so we can hit finish, and that will now prepare my estimate ready for me to put the dimensions in from my set of plans or from my specification to actually do the estimating. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to estimate the brick and block cavity walls. So I'm going to double click on the brick and block cavity walls. I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to call it wall, or I'm going to call it walls, and I can also give a location as well. I could call it wall 1, and that wall 1 could be part of a bathroom setup, it could be part of a bedroom setup, it could be part of a conservatory, a corridor, but because we're doing an extension, I can just pick extension as a location anyway. If the location isn't there, we can actually create our own locations within the software itself. Press OK. Now it's asking me what type of wall are we building. We've got a couple of different ones in here. We've got single-story cavity walls. We've also got double-story cavity walls. It could be that I'm doing a new build, and I might be doing it by Part L building regs. So we've got some extra thickness on the insulation. What I'm actually doing is a single-story cavity wall with a lean-to roof. So I'm going to be picking the single-story cavity wall at this stage. Press select, and then we get our little pictorial dimension wizard popping up, asking me for the dimensions to do the estimating. Now we've got some default dimensions in here anyway, just to kind of give you a guide. You can change these to whatever you need them to be. So we've got 2.5 meters high on the wall. Now we can also hover over that small cell there, that small area where we've got the dimension, and you can see there that's actually telling me that's the height of the main wall. I can also switch on my little tech tip button down here, and by being in that section there, you'll see here on the right hand side we've got a small description of what we're actually estimating there. So it's actually telling me the height of the wall is the overall external brickwork measurement, measured from above the DPC. For simplicity, differences between the height of the inner block work leaf and the outer leaf are ignored at this stage. So if I want to, I can actually change that to 2.4. I can also go to the length of the wall, and again you can see there we've got a little description of the length of the wall. So that's in 6 meters. So I'm going to leave it for 6 meters, and I've also got an area of opening. This is really going to be where my door or my window is going to go. So we can actually put in there 2.6 square meters to actually allow that gap for any doors or windows. We can also go to the gable dimensions, and we can measure up the gable. Now we've got two different gables here. We've got a typical apex gable, or we've got the typical lean-to gable. So what we would do is actually measure up the A, measure up the B, and then put those dimensions into the section here. I'm going to press next. Now we're on to the foundation details. So again, pretty kind of standard building reg dimensions as a guide. You've got 1 meter down, we've got 600 mil across, and we've got 400 mil for the structural concrete thickness. So the thickness of that concrete that's going in there is going to be 400 mil. Now the software knows how much concrete we're going to pour because we've got our width, we've got our depth, and we've also got our length as well. So by being 400 thick, it knows exactly how much concrete we're actually going to pour into this foundation. We've also got planned construct excavation, which we're estimating for. So that's our trench sheets, and we've also got our bulking of excavated material as well. So again, as I said, because we know how much material we're actually digging out this this gap, it's actually going to factor that up by 1.5, because we're going to have to dispose of that somehow in a skip or a cartaway lorry, and that's going to be by 1.5 because it's going to be loose. So it's going to be able to estimate the spoil from the site. We've also got our footing details, and again the footing details all have its kind of standard building regs. I just wanted to use this opportunity here just to show the tech labels button. If we activate the tech labels button, you can see there it just starts pointing out various elements of the footings themselves. It's again just to kind of keep you true on your estimating, so you know that's your trench blocks, that's your block work below the DPC, we've got a cavity fill in there, and we've also got our overall width of the wall and cavity width as well. Is the main wall going to be insulated? So it'll estimate for any insulation. And is there going to be a separate DPC? So it'll also estimate for that as well. By clicking on next, this is our page 404, and this is the internal plastering and decorating. So the software is going to estimate for plastering the block work. It's going to estimate for decorating the block work. At the moment we've actually got that as a default no, but we're actually going to change that to yes. We'll also have a skirting board running along the wall, so it's estimating for the one skirting board, and it's also priming and decorating that skirting board as well. So by pressing finish, that will allow us to estimate that one wall at a cost of £2,410.10. These are our dimensions we've just told the software we're actually estimating for. So it was that 6 by 2.4 with a 2.6 area of opening. So it picks up all the dimensions we've estimated. And to allow us to actually just maybe check through or see what resources we've used on the wall, we can click on this button on the toolbar that says View Resources Output. So by clicking on that button, that will then take us into the resources we've actually used on the wall. So we can actually have this nice list of the materials themselves. So it's actually picking out our concrete, our trench blocks, our blocks there, our facing bricks, our engineering bricks, insulation block, insulation coursing block. We've also got our cavity insulation, our brick ties, as well as our building sand, as well as our mastercrete cements. And then we've got our skirting boards, and it'll also estimate the nails to actually apply or fix the skirtings to the wall. All our decorating finishes, and then it starts getting into the labour element as well. So the ground worker, the two brickies and a mate, the decorator, and also all our plants requirements, mini digger to actually excavate the trench, and where we're actually going to use a shovel as well. So we did mention that the software will actually estimate for the wear and tear on the shovel, because you're not going to have two shovels there. It's going to be the same shovel, but they're going to be used in two different aspects of the construction of the wall. There's going to be a bit of wear and tear on that shovel, so you'll have to replace it at some stage, so that allows the kind of costs to accumulate. So that's one wall. If you want to estimate another wall, because we know in this extension we're going to have one wall, probably going to have 3 walls, so we'll add a new column, we'll add a new single story. So what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be using 2.4. This wall is going to be 3.5 meters, and I've got no area of opening for this wall itself. The rest of the information is exactly the same. Change that to yes, and then press finish. So we've now got 2 walls, one's at 6 meters, one's at 3.5 meters, and as you can see there, the actual cost of the estimate is now changed to 3,981 and 83 pence. We can add another column if we need to. So this will be our third wall. So again, we can change that to 2.4. This wall is actually going to be 4.2 meters. Could have another area of opening in there, 3.6. The rest of the information is exactly the same. Change the decorating, press finish. So now we've got 3 walls there, all estimated at a cost of 547427. Again, if you want to check through your resources, and what you can also do with going into the resources themselves, if you want to have a look at the bricks above the DPC less any openings, we're using a facing brick here, and by going into views, we can have a look at quantities, and that will tell us exactly how many bricks we're going to be using to build the walls, including the 80 that we're going to waste. So we're actually going to be using 1,600 bricks. But to do your ordering, you'll have to be ordering 1,680 bricks because of the 80 that we're going to waste. So if we're quite happy with the 3 walls we've estimated, we can close the workbook down. Is this workbook now complete? Then that now puts it in that estimate. And you can then start building this up. So if you want to do some internal block walls, we can go to the internal block wall. So we'll call it wall on extension. Now from the templates, we can do an internal wall and strip foundations, and we're not doing any plastering. We can do an internal wall and strip foundations, and we're plastering one. And we can do an internal wall and strip foundations where we're actually plastering both sides. We can also, if we're building this off a slab, we can do an internal wall without any foundations, plastered the one side or both sides. I'm going to be plastering both sides, and we're actually going to be doing it on strip foundations. So again, we can switch this on. We can change the dimensions if we need to. Typical door opening. So if we actually say that we've got one door, then it's going to allow for that typical door opening as an area of opening to put the door in. Foundation details. footing details, and then we've got the plastering, the decorating. As you can see here, we're actually plastering both sides, we're decorating both sides, and we're now going to have two skirting boards because you've got the block wall is going to have the skirting board on one side and also the other as well. Press finish, and that's estimated the block wall 162964. We can go to view resources output, and that will give us a complete list of all the labour, materials and plant as well. Quite happy with that. I'm going to stick that in my estimate as well. So we can close that down, and then we've got a block wall in there. Now, we've been estimating these two walls with materials and labour. The materials and labour can be found in your price book. As you can see here from the tabs, just going across the top, we can access our price book from within the estimate. We can go to the materials section, and this will give us a list of all the materials within the software that we're actually using. So we'll have a description of the material, we'll have a list price of the material, we'll also have any discounts if we're linking the software to, for example, the likes of Dewson's or Travis Perkins or some of the other merchants we use. We've also got an adjustment in here as well we can also make ourselves, and then we've got our purchase cost less any of the discounts or adjustments. So if you want to make a small adjustment to your price book, you can go to Edit Adjustments, and what we can do, we can drop the prices by 30%. As you can see there, the purchase cost column changed to reflect the 30% discount or adjustment we've actually made to our price book. We can also add new resources to the price book. If we want to add some more building sand from a different supplier, we can highlight the building sand bulk bag, and by pressing the new resource button, that allows us to input a new supplier. So we could put, that's going to be £30 or say £32.99 a tonne. From the suppliers and contractors, we can either pick one of the ones that we've created in the software, or we can actually press the new supplier button and then place a new supplier directly into the software ourselves. So we'll change that to local supplier, delivery on our local suppliers every 1 week, payment terms are every 4, we've got 20% VAT, and we've also got 7.5% wastage. So as you can see there, we've now got that in our software. We can jump from our material price book to our labour price book. So this will actually give us a list of all our tradesmen with an hourly rate cost in the list price. As you can see there, the unit of supply is by the hour. So we've got 2 brickies in the mate, £43 an hour. We've got another 2 brickies in the mate in there at £52.50 an hour. Maybe we're just using them in a different area. And we've also got a 4 and 2, our individual bricklayer, joiner, decorator, ground worker, all the way down to our plumbers, plasterers, roofers. So they're all in here for you to use. You've also got plant items. Got a skip ramp in there, got a sling, got our mini diggers, dust sheets. We've also got our subcontract prices as well. So if you're putting a fixed cost in there for your decorator, you can apply that. Or maybe you're doing pile foundations and you're putting that in as a fixed cost. And then your sundry resources as well. So making sure that you're actually estimating for everything, any design fees, management tasks, insurance, warranties, legal fees, telecom setup costs. They're all in here for you to use within the estimate. So we're going to go back to the summary screen. So we've estimated for the block wall. We've also estimated for the brick and block cavity wall. We can do the slab. So once you really kind of get experience with the software, we can say it's a reinforced slab. Switch on our 2 little buttons. you would again give the width of the slab, the thickness of the sand blinding, thickness of the subbase, the length of the slab, and any irregular areas that you need to estimate for as well. Slab details, DPM, insulation, perimeter insulation. If you're reinforcing, and we picked the reinforcement template anyway, and is the slab float finished? And then we've got requirement for plant, so hours, days. We're going to be using for like bolt croppers, shovels, wheelbarrows. So press finish, and then we've estimated the slab. We can close that down. Is this workbook now complete? Yes, it has been. And then we can move on to the roof. So the principles are the same. You pick the roof, you give it a location and a name. We can pull over the dimensions from the brick and block cavity wall, and we can do a roof with soffits and fascias, insulation and plastering to the ceiling. Switch on our two little tip buttons, points out the various elements of the lean-to roof, clear spanner joists, timber and roof strap details, pitch, purlins, binders, fascias. So this is looking at the side elevation. So we have our eaves length, guttering details, downpipe, fixing sensors, tiling and insulation information, the tiling details themselves. So the software is going to estimate for all your tiling. And also the roof finishes, decorating, plastering, bars, boards, fascias, soffits, insulation. Press finish, and we've estimated a lean-to roof up, all the timbers. So we can go into view resources output, and this will then give you a list of all your materials, labour, plant to complete the roof. So if you want to have a look at your tiles, we can go to the tiles. We can have a look at quantities. So we can see that we're actually using 1,645 tiles. We're going to waste about 123 of them through breakages. So we need to order 1768 of our tiles to actually cover our lean-to roof. And you've also got different tiles here as well, your eaves tiles, top tiles, and also verse tiles as well. So the roof's been estimated. So you can now start seeing we've got a bit of a build-up of the costs, excluding any VAT and profit at this stage. And if we just finish off with the back door, so it's given us the 4 different doors. Now we're only going to use one door, so we'll use the door that we want to. Let's say we're actually using a stable door. So we zero out those other 3. That leaves us with this 838 door 66742. And press close. Is this workbook now complete? Yes, it has done. If we want to add any more workbooks to the job, we can go to Add Workbook, and then this will give us a list. So if we want to do some electrics, might be putting in some electrical sockets, some internal lighting, might be doing some external lighting in a doorbell, we can then add them to the estimate and then estimate them accordingly. But we can add anything to this extension. If we want to add some new doors, might be that the client's asking us to do some bifold doors. So we can add bifold doors to the job. Might be doing some external works. Might be tarmacking a drive at the same time. Might be doing some paving. So we can add them to the job as well. So you can really kind of add anything to the job and kind of build it up and then estimate them accordingly. So once the job is kind of underway, it allows us to then report on the job. If we want to present it to the client, what we can look at is, for example, your charts. So as mentioned at the within the kind of presentation, is about being able to kind of provide a build schedule for the client. Now, the build schedule has given us a typical extension with all the kind of build phases already kind of pre-planned out. So what we can do, we can actually remove any of the unused build phases on the job. So this is going to remove any of these build phases here, and it will leave us with the build phases we've actually estimated for. Now we can also then alter where these build phases, when they're going to start. So we can go to Edit Bar Chart. With the foundations as a build phase, it's due to start on week 17. Now what I can do, I can adjust that just by pressing that button there, and that will move foundations back to 0. The duration of that, that foundation is going to be a week. So by pressing Cascade, the rest of the build phase is going to fall back. And if you press refresh, that will then give us a nice little kind of Gantt chart, a little schedule of works, starting with the foundations and ending with completion on the 7th of September 2015. So we can actually offer this to the client as an indication of how long the job should typically take. If, for example, the plastering hasn't dried, what we can do is go to Edit Bar Chart. We can go to plastering. It's due to start on week 5, and the duration is going to be a week. But if you want that to have an extra couple of days, press Cascade and refresh. And the plastering is just going to take a little bit longer. And we can also move the joinery second fix. So joinery second fix, start on week 7, or we can pump up by another week or a few extra days. So you can see that little added extra on the end of the chart. So you've got the ability of actually changing this, and you can print it off. So that could form part of your presentation to give to the clients. So you can print it off on your printer, and that will all be kind of used on the presentation. Within the report section, we can report on any aspect of the job. We've got some slightly different reports. We've got the ones with a little kind of pie chart icon next to them. It's exactly what it is. If you want to have a look at your cost by material type, that will give you a nice visual report, breakdown of cost by materials. So we've got our concrete, bricks, blocks. We've got this kind of other section. Then this other section is then kind of broken down into roof tiles, materials, sundry items, timber, door frames, rainwater goods. Got our foundations, and they're all in percentages at the moment, but we can actually change that by pressing the toggle button. Then that will change it to a cost. We can also report on the sales price including profit reports. So we can have a report that's showing the item costs. We can also show them the wastage costs, certainly not showing the client the wastage cost. This is probably going to be for your own reference. And then you've got your total cost of the job, 13,16048. We've got a profit, how much we're looking to make on the job. So we're looking at just shy of £4,000, 3,948.14. And then we've got our sum of total, including any profit, excluding any VAT at this stage, so 17,108.62. If you want to have a look at individual labour reports, we can have a look at our roof tiler costs. So we've got a roof tiler, we've also got the roof tiler and his mate, and we've also got 3 roof tilers coming in at this stage with their total costs themselves, 730.65. If you want to have a look at our bricky costs, we can then break down the bricky costs, where it's going to be used, what the build phases are, and then the cost as well. If you want to see when we need to order materials by, there's a materials order schedule report, and that will allow you to order your materials on time. So again, protecting your cash flow. So this will require a date required report, when you need to order it by, for what build phase we're actually using it for, the description of the material, what it's going to be used for, and then we've got our item quantities over here as well. As you can see, some of these are kind of set to 0, but what we can do, we can actually take away zeros within the reports. So now that has actually disappeared, we've now just got the cost within the report itself. We can also filter by suppliers. So if I go to the supplier section, if we are buying our materials from Dewsons, I can press OK, then that will give us a list of suppliers or materials we're actually using from Dewsons. You can also look at a labour time schedule. That will also allow you to have a look at your labour, what the typical hours are for each build phase, and who's going to be doing most of the work. So 2 brickies and a mate, 29 hours worth of work. The brickie on itself is 21.85. If we want to produce a quotation for the client, we can go into the customer quotation. We can either choose a quotation for build phases or by workbooks. If we're doing a job like an extension, I'm going to be choosing the one for build phases. Then this will allow us to produce a quotation, and as I said in the presentation, it's about producing a quote for your client with enough detail so you can justify the value of the actual cost. So we can show some key resources on the quote. You don't have to show any resources, but certainly showing some key resources will demonstrate to the client what materials, especially if they specify a certain material, is going to be on the quotation as well. So it's all about kind of winning you that work. What we can also show in the quote, we can take away the phase totals, but I would certainly advise kind of keeping them in. But we can take out the build phase pictures, or again keep them in. You can also change the build phase pictures to your own library of pictures that you've actually used on a job, so you can upload your own representations. You can also include that small inflation cost, so that 2.5% on the build phase as well. You can also put in a customer-friendly description. So rather than giving it the technical name of an engineering brick Class A blue 65mm, all you're really doing is just saying it's an engineering brick. And if you want to show them the quantities, or they've asked for the quantities, you can include the order quantities in the job as well. You can also show different phases within the quotes, or take them out. If you don't want to show the tiling or the roof structure, you can take it out, or you might want to show the oversight and slabbing or the plastering. So you can take them out, and you can also take out resources within the quote as well. Maybe you're just supplying them with a labour-only quotation. By going into preferences, you can really kind of put your own kind of stamp on the quotation. You can make sure that it's got your kind of phraseology and your own kind of wording. Now these are the kind of default ones that we've got within the software. Just kind of states thanking them for the valid inquiry. You're saying you're pleased to attach the following estimate as requested. And again, you can change any of this information on here. You can, as I said, you can also kind of put your own kind of wordings within there as well. The estimate is valid for a period of 28 days. We look forward to hearing from you soon. Yours sincerely. So this is what is going to be transferred to the quotation. You can also make sure that your terms and conditions are placed on the quotation at the end. And by going into page setup, you can also make sure that you put your own company logo on there as well. If you want to, you can also print on some pre-printed A4 letterhead, or you can actually import some Word letterhead directly into the estimate. And you can keep your contact details at the top of each page, so they know which phone number to get hold of you, email address. And when you finish, all you do is press OK, press the print button, charge at the 20%, and press OK. And the software will then format that quotation for you and get that printed off. So it's produced the quotation in a Word document for me. So it's picked up the client's details, what we're actually doing the job for, at the address that's been specified. It's got your company logo on there as well, and then you've got your opening letter ready to actually go to the clients. So as I said, this is the letter that's thanking them for the valid inquiry, any considerations, and the estimate is valid for a period of 28 days from date of issue. Then we kind of get into the quotation itself. So I'm just going to zoom in on there just to make it a little bit clearer. So the first one is the foundations. It gives a description of the foundations. You can make any changes to the description as well if you need to include any specific changes. Your details at the top of each page, as you can see there. The software is actually registered to me, hence the reason why I've got HBXL. But if you register the software yourself, it'll have your contact details at the top of the page. And then we've got a breakdown of materials, the footings, and then we've got a list of the footing materials we've used for the block wall, as well as the brick and block cavity wall. So we've got our kind of Ketley brick in there. You've got your blue circle Mastercrete, oversight and slabbing, insulation, we've got a jab floor, got a reinforced steel mesh, brickwork shell, again it's kind of breaking down the back door, the block walls, the brick and block cavity wall, roof structure, it's given a list of the timbers, also your downpipe, we've got an Osma black pipe, we've got our Osma half-round gutter union brackets, the roof tiling, so our tiles, we've got our Hawkins single camber plain tile, Staffordshire blue. So if that's what they've specified on the quotation, you can demonstrate to the client this is exactly what we're using on the job. So all the build phases are listed with the materials, given a cost as well, excluding any VAT at this stage, internal decoration, and then we've got our completion with the schedule we're going to print off for them as well. And then we've got our total cost, excluding any VAT, and then including the VAT as well. Last but not least, we've got our acceptance of the estimate, which you sign a copy, the client gets a copy, so that's all signed off. So that's agreeing for the work to be carried out, and the estimate defined above, the date, signed off, and then you leave them with the T's and C's as well. So that would then kind of form part of your quotation pack. If you need to change or negotiate, what we can then do is change our profit margin. If we need to drop that by around about 20%, and then we can go back to the reports, go to the customer quotation, This time, because we've actually given the detailed one, I'm just going to show them no resources. I'm also going to take out the pictures. I'm going to leave the phase totals in and the sales price including inflation. Charge it the VAT. So we've got a secondary quote, but this time we've just got a list of the stages. And as you can see there, we've given them a small discount, but you're still making 20% on the job. And then if we actually win the job, we can say it's going to be due to start. Okay, well, thank you very much for attending today. If you want to get in contact, you can give us a call on the sales line. It's 0845 1234 065, or you can call the 0117 916 7898. You can also email us at sales@hbxl.co.uk. And if you, for any kind of support queries, you can also give us a call on 0845 1234 085 or 0117 9167 899, or email them at support@hbxl.co.uk. We also have a number of other events kicking off this week on the Smart Builders Week, so please tune in and we'll speak to you later. Thank you very much for your time.